Today, everybody, we're going to talk about guaje. I'm going to find the plant, I'm going to cook a few typical things with this, and do some experimenting. Guaje is native to the Americas, but it has been introduced around the world as a forage plant. That means it is a plant that is useful for animals to graze on. It is very nutritious, it's very resilient, and actually it's very invasive. This is a very, very invasive plant, and you'll find this thing all over the place because it's been introduced, but also it has spread. It has spread to just about like any kind of like warm weather area, you're gonna find this. I recently found the guaje growing wild in Vanuatu, and this is kind of significant because when I visited Vanuatu, they had just faced a major natural disaster. They were hit by a series of cyclones and an earthquake, and they were moving on with their lives when I visited, but a lot of the plants were defoliated. As we walked around, a lot of the trees were just like stripped of leaves and fruit, but the guaje, they were holding on strong. So even in the face of a natural disaster, this guy still can grow.
Okay, so Steven has found something here. This is something I've seen before. I've seen this at like Mexican supermarkets. I've seen purple ones and green ones.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different types.
They taste okay?
It's all right. And
not a bad protein source, like if you're, somewhere, because you can see they're pretty productive. Lots of bean pods here just growing wild.
These have been introduced all around the world and are very invasive in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Including like in Hawaii and other places. You see them pan-tropics, but they only eat them in Mexico.
Yeah, invasive, however, in New York City, just a little bundle of these would be like $10. So let's pop all these open.
Tastes like stink bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little garlicky, a little funky, the way stink bean is. I mean, they're related, right? They're all in the Fabaceae family, right? So this would be a good thing to cook with. Like take some of these and mix them up into like a rice dish or a noodle dish or something, and that would be really tasty. Although this has been introduced around the world for animals to use, humans have historically used it too. In the Americas, specifically Central America and in Mexico, this is something that people have been using for a long time. They still use them today. And in some of the areas that this has been introduced to, they're also finding uses for the pods, not just for animals, but for humans to use. In Indonesia, I believe they make curries out of it. In Thailand, it's become quite popular as a medicine. And not only are the seeds on the inside of this pod useful when they're young, and I believe the seeds are not fully formed yet, you can prepare the pods and eat those. The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible. There's a lot of edible parts, but they usually need to be prepared in some sort of way. And that is because guaje contains a toxin known as mimosine. And mimosine in animals, even though animals do forage on this, in some animals it can cause them to lose hair. I don't know why I'm pulling at my shirt. They could lose hair. And for humans, it also is probably not a great idea to eat too much of that toxin. Even the seeds on the inside, even though you will see recipes, especially like in Mexico and Central America, where you use the raw seeds, other people claim that you need to prepare them before you can do that. And how that is usually done is you soak them in water for like 24 hours and then you cook them after that before you use them. Not everybody does it, but some people do recommend it. And me, you do whatever you want. Just don't blame me if you get sick. So I'm going to try these in a few different ways. So I'm going to try these in a few different ways, but the first thing I'm going to do is let my cat sit on my lap. I'm going to prepare this in a few different ways today, and the first way that I'm going to prepare it is probably the simplest way, and that is to make what I've heard is a popular street snack in some parts of Central America and in Mexico. And for that, you take these, you dry them out, you fry them in oil, add a little salt, and that's it. I've got not just roasted, but popped guaje seeds. They actually puff up when you cook them. Kinda neat. One thing I've learned though is that these things like to explode when you put them in hot oil. Probably should have saw that coming. So you might want to use a splatter guard or a proper fryer to do this rather than what I just did right there. Not all of these flew all over my kitchen. I still have a few, so let's see. That's fun. Because they kind of puff, there's a little space of air inside of these when you bite into them, so they pop when you chew them. Not just like a regular crunch, but a very satisfying little crunch. One thing with this is that the flavor changes when you fry them. It doesn't have as much of the funkiness. It kind of reminds me of eating popcorn with nutritional yeast on it. It has that kind of sort of cheesy, sort of funky, savory taste. Actually really good. Actually, that's really good. I would happily eat this as a snack. Also, it would be good as a topping on something. Like if you're gonna make a taco and put this on top of the taco, I think I'm gonna do that tonight. That's a great idea. The second thing that I'm going to do is also from south of the border. I'm going to make guacamole using these. So what I did is I made a basic guacamole using onion, jalapeno, cilantro, avocado, some salt, the guaje, and some lime. Mixed it all up, and I now have guaje mole. Yeah, I'm going to just try this with a corn chip. I should point out that the guaje that I put in here, I did toast it. I'm gonna be eating a lot of guaje today, so I figured it's probably a good idea to try to kill some of that mimosine off of it. I do not taste the guaje whatsoever, but it is good. It tastes like guacamole. I'm gonna try another bite. Maybe I didn't put enough in. This one's got like 6 of those seeds on there, so this should be good. Okay, I'm getting it now, but it is more of a aftertaste. See, guacamole has a lot of very strong flavors in it. You've got the onion in there, you got a pepper, got the lime, and those kind of get you at first. But then as you swallow it and you kind of like have that flavor, then you start feeling it up here, up in the nose. And that is that kind of garlicky, sulfuric funkiness. It's good. It actually makes a lot of sense in this because it works with all those stronger flavors and it kind of ties them together. However, it is not the most prominent flavor. I think if you wanted this to have more of that flavor, where you have more of guaje as a prominent flavor, you gotta double the amount that I used in here. I put like a tablespoon in here, maybe 2 tablespoons. I think it needs like 4. You gotta really pile in the guaje in this in order to get that sort of funkiness in there. But even with what I did, it does make a lot of sense to add this to guacamole. The final thing that I would like to do is a little bit more experimental. Now, earlier I made a comparison that guaje is kind of like stink bean. Milder, but kind of like stink bean. The stink bean is a big old bean pod that is very stinky. They taste kind of like if you had edamame, but also with garlicky, cheesy, sulfuric. It's got this sort of flavor, but just like really ramped up. And my favorite way of using stink bean is to make a fried rice with it. That sort of flavor really goes really well with it. So what I did is I made a very basic and probably wrong fried rice, where I took an onion, I took the guaje, I cooked those together. That way the guaje had a chance to cook. And then I added the rice, added an egg, mixed that all together, added some soy sauce and some sesame oil, and we have fried rice. Nice and in focus. There is my fried rice. I probably added too much soy sauce. Next, let's Focus on the cat who's over there. Very cute. And now let's focus on my face, and that is really good. However, not nearly as strong as a stink bean fried rice. So I'm having a similar sort of reaction to the guacamole. The fried rice is giving me the other flavors first. I'm getting the onion, I'm getting the egg, I'm getting the soy sauce, the sesame oil, I'm getting all that first. And then I'm like, there it is. I'm kind of being carried along by the nose to the other flavors, and the aftertaste is kind of still sticking with me there. So the guaje works with this. It ties things together. You definitely get it, but it's not like stink bean fried rice, because stink beans are so strong. So I would definitely make this again. You know, I really like stink bean fried rice. However, stink beans are not something you'd really come across in the US. I don't think they're legal here. Guajes are, and they give you that sort of flavor, just milder. So I think this isn't exactly replicating that, but is giving me the same sort of flavors that I like. So I think that's about it for the guaje. This is something that I feel needs to be used more, you know, especially since it is so prevalent. You know, whether you like it or not. This is something that grows all over the place, and yet it is often ignored. So guaje is definitely worth picking up, worth playing with. I think there's a lot of possibilities with this. I mean, you can use it in something like guacamole and fried rice, and in both cases, it adds to it. And that's something. This is a very versatile thing. It's a flavor that is not used so much, but can definitely be a great addition to a lot of different foods. So hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody, and I will see you all next time. I would like to give a big shout out to Smarter Every Day, Wootbot, JMac, and Schoolbird. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. This is how I can afford to do all the things that I'm doing on this channel, so it's a big help. Thank you so much, guys. And anyone else watching who would like to support the channel and get some cool stuff in return, click the link in the description below. Another thing that you can do is buy a t-shirt. I've got them for sale over on my website, which I've linked in the description below as well. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time.